Welcome to the Lost Boys of Found Fathers podcast. I'm Gabriel O'Sullivan, and joining me is my co-host and friend, Will Haycox. We are men who have suffered the loss of a child, and through this production, we desire to offer encouragement, strength, and hope to our fellow brothers who have traveled the same journey. Good morning, Will.
Good morning, Mr. Gabe.
So we are on episode 13 of Intentional Fatherhood. We've got episode 13, which is today, episode 14, which will be our next episode, obviously, if you're counting numerically in Arabic format, which we tend to do.
Hey, I hope my daughter listens to this because we're teaching her counting.
Hey, there you go, man. That's all right. Teach her accounting, and then you can put her to work. She's almost old enough for that.
Yeah, you know, she's almost 4, so
I know.
We might as well put her to work.
That's right. You remember Major Payne?
Mm-hmm.
You remember that movie? He said, well, when I was 5, I had a full-time job.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, my
about right.
Middle son turned 13 yesterday, and I was telling him, I was like, well, you're a teenager now. It's time to get a job. I was like, you can go to school until 3. We'll have you at your work by 4. You can work till 12. Come home, do your homework, get about 4 hours of sleep. So,
and you know what my grandfather would say about that? That's what I did. This generation's just soft. No, my grandfather's a very loving guy, but probably still true.
Right, that's right.
We devolved pretty quickly, didn't we, this week?
That's right, man. Well, hey, you know, today we're on the day after Mike Tyson. This is going to date this, and I know we're not supposed to date our podcast.
I was gonna say
day after Mike Tyson Jake Paul fight. Greatest fight in the history of mankind.
Did you watch it?
No, I did not watch it. I forgot about it, and I just looked it up on ESPN a little bit ago.
I don't know. All I saw was my phone popped up, and it said, disappointing fight. Tyson needs to walk away. I was like, wow, okay.
I know, man. I mean, come on, man. He's 58 years old.
Dude's almost 60, yeah.
Yeah, fighting a dude 30 years younger than him. 30 years younger than him. Like, I mean, I'm going to tell you, I'm 46, almost 47, and I would not want to try to go out and play against, a high school senior right now in a full game of basketball because I know what a difference 30 years can make. Like, I just know. Like, when I was in my 30s, like, playing somebody that was 17, no problem.
Yeah, in your 30s, you're like, yeah, I'll show this kid a thing or two.
Absolutely. I mean, Jordan didn't hit his stride till he was in his 30s. You know, LeBron's kind of always been in his stride. Kobe, too. But, you know, Jordan by 31 is when he really started, like, showing people what's up. So anyway, shout out to Iron Mike for getting back in the ring. I mean, he could have got really hurt last night, I think, but he didn't. I mean, it was he went the distance, which was only 2 rounds, but still, you know, the fact he didn't get knocked out or injured, and I think is kind of a big deal. He's just he's a bad man pajama.
Now, closing on that, I know nothing about boxing. I remember playing like the old Punch-Out game years ago on Nintendo.
Oh yeah.
Scary Mike Tyson and Butterbean, and I don't know who else was in there, but I remember some of that. But I know nothing about boxing, and I know nothing about the Pauls other than they're obnoxious. And the only thing I was hoping for that fight is like Mike Tyson might be 58 or 60, but you know that song Toby Keith, you know, like, I'm not as good as I once was, but I'm as good once as I ever was. I was just hoping that Mike gets in the ring and, like, Insane Mike comes out and he just takes Jake Paul's head off. I was just hoping, maybe it's only like 2 or 3 punches, but I was just hoping he lands one and just wrecks that dude.
I did too. I was actually expecting that. I thought that's what was going to happen. Like, I just knew, like, he's gonna catch him one time and it's gonna be over, and then the Paul train is gonna stop moving.
Yeah, well, we can hope, I guess.
But
I guess, like you say, Father Time is undefeated. So
that's what they all say. Right.
Yeah.
That is true. That is very true.
Now 4 minutes into the podcast, let's transition back to
so again, Intentional Fatherhood. Today we're gonna talk about celebrating milestones and accomplishments. So Will, why don't you kind of bring us into real world?
I'm gonna stretch a transition here. You know, Mike Tyson fighting in a boxing match at 60. It's a pretty important accomplishment, right? Segue that. Now, if you're not watching on YouTube, I'm pulling and I'm trying really hard to segue that.
That's a good segue.
Yeah, that's why I don't work in radio. So yes, what we're talking about today is celebrating milestones and accomplishments, and really, I guess you can boil that down to showing their kids they're important to you. And that they matter, and there's a lot of nuance and a lot of, you know, different ways you can do that. But I think it comes down to, like, letting your kids know you're proud of them. And you know, we're not psychologists, we're not psychiatrists, we're not therapists, but I think anyone with any common sense and any knowledge of humanity knows when you when you have parental issues, when you have feelings that your parents don't care about you, aren't proud of you, never celebrate what you've done, the stereotypical like TV or like movie son who's trying to go out and he's trying to win state championship so he can make his dad proud, and then he finally wins and his dad's like, cool son, I'm going back to work. Just like some sad movie. It's probably from the 90s. I'm a 90s kid, so I just made that movie up, and it sounds plausible because how bad Hallmark movies and things like that were in the 90s. But really what we've been talking about, what it means to be a good father, what it means to love your children well, what it means to be intentional with leading your family towards Christ. And I think a big part of caring for your kids' emotional and mental and spiritual well-being is, like I said, making sure they know that you're watching and you are aware. Your kid's a little bit older than mine, Gabe, and so like for my kids, for Bonnie, it's like I said, she's almost 4. Hannah's kind of started school with her, and so she's teaching her letters. She can actually count really well. I'm joking about that, but she can count to 20, like it's nothing. And I don't know what's an age appropriate thing, but when she learns something new or when she draws something, she just started trying to draw stick people like a couple weeks ago. It's, hey Bonnie, that's so great, that's so pretty. Like you did a really good job. You're doing so good at counting, and she gets all, oh, thank you, Daddy. And we hug, and I just tell her I'm excited for her. And I think at her age, just her knowing that I come home, when Daddy comes home, I can come to him and say, Daddy, look what I did at school today. And whatever, she did like a search and find, and she found all 10 of the things. Showing her that like when she comes to me and she's excited about something and she's proud about something she did, I look at it, and whether I just told you before this podcast, Gabe, the last 2 days of work were pretty crappy days. And if I'm coming home from those 2 crappy days of work, and Bonnie's like, hey, Daddy, look, I did this really amazing thing, and she's excited about it. And I'm like, leave me alone. I'm tired. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to take a shower. Don't care about that. What does that do to her little 4-year-old brain that I'm really excited about this, but when Daddy comes home, he doesn't care. He doesn't care about what I've accomplished. And I think, again, I'm no psychologist, but what I would feel there is that you start internalizing, like, what I do doesn't matter. And Dad's not excited about what I can do. Ultimately, it could devolve to the point where I'm not going to tell Dad about things because I don't want to be disappointed if he's not excited, to now I'm not excited about accomplishing things, and they can lose that motivation, that excitement, that creativity, that just desire to grow and learn. And I'll let you speak to that, maybe with some older kids and how that looks for them.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, you're right. We've got to pour into them, let them know that we care about them. Things that they care about, we want to encourage that, and we want to let them know that we care about what they care about. And we've talked about before, not going too far the other way with that and being like one of those American Idol parents, that's like building up their kid in ways that they shouldn't be building them up, right? But on the same vein, like we got to show them that we are proud of them, we love them, we care about them. We want to build them up, not tear them down. And there's this verse I read often. It's 1 Thessalonians 2:11-12 out of the Bible, and it says, "For you know that we dealt with each of you as a father deals with his own children, encouraging, comforting, and urging you to live lives worthy of God who calls you into his kingdom and glory." And so, that verse to me is like reminding me, like, I am supposed to be encouraging and comforting to my kids. And I'm also in that supposed to urge them to follow the Lord, of course, because that's what's going to be in their best interest eternally, right? And even temporally. But I'm supposed to encourage them and comfort them in however I can. It's not our job to be harsh and to tear them down and to be like this drill sergeant that's only looking for ways to like correct them and admonish them. Like, do we have to do that sometimes? Yes, but like that shouldn't be the goal of our parenting. The goal of our parenting should be to build them up, right? And sometimes you have to obviously correct and, change and pray for other behavior. But yeah, I'll just say that right there. That verse means a lot to me.
Yeah, I love that verse. And then where you went with it, it reminded me, and this may, like for my generation, which we're not that much different, you're 10 years older than me, but with your generation, I would imagine, I've seen it, it's a little different, but we all know, if you're older than 30 or so, and you can think about your parents and your grandparents, my grandfather's generation grew up Depression era. Like their parents went through the Depression, and they scrapped and they clawed and they did everything they could do just to survive. And I'm not saying that they were cruel people or by any means, but from what I've seen as stories I've heard, the father was the provider. He was always doing stuff for the family. He was always working on the house, fixing a washing machine. He's always trying to do something to save some money and just help the family get by. And stereotypically in that generation, that father maybe was a little more distant than we see now. Maybe not telling the kid I love you every single night, not giving the kids hugs. And then the fathers, again, this is the hypothetical typical father of this generation, love their kids, but they didn't show it very well. So kids grow up with that mentality. And I think the baby boomer generation, which is my parent, they grew up with this, maybe a hurt that like they weren't told I love you. They weren't told, I'm proud of you as much, not because their parents weren't, but just because that was what their parents were used to. So then they went forward, and I guess like your generation started hearing that a little bit more. Like, I'm proud of you. I'm glad at what you're doing. You're doing a great job. I love you. And then my generation, the blending line between mine and yours, I think we heard that a lot. We started hearing, I love you. I care about you. I'm proud of you. And I think that's a shift a little bit. Like the men used to be masculine and quiet and stoic, and now we can be a little more, it's societally acceptable to be a little more open and
kind,
softer with our kids. Kinder. And so all of that to say, there is some societal aspects to this, like loving your kid, being proud of your kid, like, and I think we're swinging the pendulum towards what you're saying, this helicopter parent, American Idol, pageant, mom, garbage. Sorry if your kid's involved in that, but we need to find that middle ground and not swing with society. To your point, like now everything, our kid can pick up one toy out of the floor that we told them to pick up. Oh, I'm so proud of you. You're doing a great job. Thank you for cleaning up.
Yeah.
But again, back to this verse you're talking about, should be encouraging, comforting, and urging them. And I think you touched on this. Encouraging them and comforting them is loving, is building them up, is saying I'm proud of you. I'm excited about what you're doing. I see you growing. I see you learning. I see you picking things up. And then urging them without the full context of that whole passage, I think like what you said, urging them to follow the Lord, urging them to be the people the Lord wanted them to be, created them to be. And I think there's a standard you're holding them to as well. And so I think celebrating milestones and accomplishments does not have to mean you're always worshiping at your kid's feet and you're telling them they're the greatest baseball player in the world, they're the greatest basketball player in the world, you're better than Michael Jordan, and like your kid at even 10 or 12 years old should be like, no, I'm not, Dad. Calm down.
Right.
But like we need to find this godly, God-honoring place of always looking for ways to encourage our children and support them and urge them to the next thing. Encourage them, like you're passionate about, or you start drawing and you like drawing, cool. I'm not going to go spend $10,000 on classes, but yeah, I'll buy you a next kit. I'll encourage that passion and let it go where it goes. And we're going to celebrate that growth. And I think a lot of that is just reminding your children that the Lord has been faithful, and even in our accomplishments and our kids' accomplishments and their growth and learning how to count and learning how to play football and learning how to do this and all these different things, we can stop and celebrate that the kids are growing through the Lord's faithfulness, and remind them like, hey, God gave you talent. Like God gave you the ability to play football, to count, to start drawing, do whatever you want to do to play guitar, and let's use this. Let's take advantage of this talent that you have, this passion that you have, and let's use it to honor the Lord. And so I think there's more to, we opened up with tell your kids you're proud of them, and I think there's a tell your kids you're proud of them and support them in using that talent and that skill to honor God, to grow his influence, to be a good witness. I mean, your daughter Gabe is really good at guitar and singing, and from my understanding, she's writing songs. She's very musically inclined, and again, I know we go to the same church. She's using that to honor the Lord. She's using that to encourage children. She's using that to play worship songs, and that's, about as God honoring as you can be. You have a talent and you're writing worship songs and you're praising the Lord in the same vein that David is. And I think, I don't know the intimate conversations you've had with your daughter, but the way she grows and she's flourishing in that skill indicates that you and your wife have done a good job encouraging her and building that up in her, and buying her a guitar and helping her and supporting her in these things. And I think that's a beautiful picture of she has an interest, and you as loving godly parents help her navigate. How do you use this? I'm sure there are times she's frustrated and like my fingers hurt, I can't learn this chord, this is annoying, I don't want to play this anymore.
Yeah. And
you guys help her navigate that to a place where now she's serving in our church in various capacities to honor the Lord with her voice and with her talent with the guitar. And I think that's an excellent way of guiding a child, and she's almost not a child, but guiding a child to, I don't know what she could be doing better with her talent.
Yeah.
And so, if you want to speak to that, you can, but I just see that, and
I
it's
love
a
that.
beautiful
Thank
picture.
You.
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing that up, and that you're recognizing that, and we are so grateful that she's using her talents, gifts, abilities, and interests, to serve the Lord. Man, that's just like for us, like what more could we ask for, right? That she's not writing songs about terrible
her
stuff.
Boyfriend
it could
breaking up with her, like Taylor Swift songs.
Yeah. So we're very grateful for that. And I would say, go back to her, like when she was younger, if I would say something like, just tell her like, hey, sweetie, I'm really proud of you, she would be like, what are you proud of? Like, why are you proud of me? Like, I'm talking about she was 10. Yeah, she was like 10 years old. Asking me these questions, like almost like, don't patronize me and just give me some platitude, of that you're just generally proud of me.
Love
like
that. Yeah.
And so I'd be like, well, I'm proud of, X, Y, or Z, right? This is because I saw this character in you today, or this attribute, or you're doing your best at whatever. And that was really, eye-opening for me, because as a dad, you just want to lavish, praise and encouragement on your kids, and like you said, tell them how thankful we are and proud of them we are. But like, she was not having these platitudes, man. Like, she wanted to know, like, why, don't just say this and not having meaning behind it. So that always pushed me to look for, okay, what character attribute am I proud of today in her, or what did she do that made me kind of swell with pride, to be able to tell her that. And so I've been reminded of that recently in this book. Carol Dweck still is on staff at Columbia University, maybe. I don't know. I didn't look her up, but that's kind of where she's writing from in this book, as like a psychology professor or something like that up there. And she is talking about growth mindset versus fixed mindset, and really fascinating book. Highly recommend it for anybody. It's not necessarily about having kids, but it's just good for me to read, because of the stuff I'm learning about myself actually in this. But she talks about in that book, she says, how like it's important that we actually give praise to effort versus accomplishment. She was like, so, because if you just always tell your kid when they say, for instance, they get an A on some test or paper or whatever, hey, way to go on that A. She's like, what you're saying to that kid is, I will praise you if you
meet my standard.
This certain standard, or if you get this grade. So then their life becomes about getting that grade. Or, hey, man, great job, you scored 20 points tonight in your game. But if they only score 2 points in your game, you know, what do you say, right? So she's like, you need to praise their effort, because effort is what really matters in life. And so she uses lots of examples of, you know, CEOs that worked hard and gave their best effort, and that's often why they succeeded. Or she uses, you know, examples from the sports world: Michael Jordan, Mia Hamm, Kobe Bryant, Tiger Woods. She says, you know, these people worked harder than anyone else, than any of their peers, and that's why they had such success. Not necessarily because they were the most talented or athletically gifted. It's because they had talent and athletic gifting, but then they put in the work, they put in the effort to get them to that next level. She was like, so what you need to be doing is praising your kids' effort. You know, are they doing their best job at cleaning up their room? Are they doing their best job at following your instruction? Are they doing their best job that they can do, you know, at their schoolwork? And, you know, I go back to elementary school. I remember I had a friend who says she won't be my friend anymore because of how I vote politically, which is sad that that's the life that we live in nowadays, right?
We're at 20 minutes. Let's not go into that conversation.
Yeah, that's right. We won't. But, you know, I remember her saying, we were probably third grade or something like that, and she, I guess the teacher, like, called her out in the middle of class and was like, you are not, you know, your grades are not what they should be. I think that you've got more to give here. And I remember her saying, she was like, you know, teacher, actually I am giving you my best right now. This is just really difficult for me to grasp or comprehend. I mean, I'm using words that are probably larger than we were using in third grade, right? But she said, but my mom always told me, give your best effort all the time. And if your best effort is a C, then it's a C. If it's an A, then it's an A. But if you're not giving your best effort and you get a C, then that's when I'm going to be disappointed, you know. And man, I've remembered that for a lot of years now, right? And so I've been trying to, this book has really kind of reiterated that to me, to like encourage my kids, like, always do your best at whatever you do. That's what I'm going to be proud of. Like, I'm going to be upset if you're being slack, if you're not doing your best, right? And so I'm trying to get back around to that, praising their effort, okay? And like, I'll give a quick example of that. Last night was our middle son's first basketball game of the season. He's in 7th grade, so they got 7th graders and 8th graders on the team. When he got in, like, he really gave it a good effort. Like, he really did. And I was so proud of that, because last year when he was playing on the same team with some of the same guys, you know, there was 6th and 7th grade then, obviously, and there was some games when he was playing with these older kids that he would be very timid, you know, and I would see, man, he's not giving his best effort because he's playing so much more timidly than normal. But then last night, like, he went in and, like, really gave it his all, and so that was really a blessing to see. And so he scored 0 points. You know, he shot about 10 times, which is a few too many, because he should have passed a little bit more.
Hey, shoot or shoot, man.
Yeah,
shoot.
That is true. He just didn't get hot last night, but when he does, he does. But at the same time, I was so proud of him not shying back and not being timid, and like really giving his effort. He had some steals, like he played good defense, like he did a lot of, you know, things that I could say were very, very effort, you know, driven, right? And that and so I was able to tell him after the game, hey man, look, I know it was your birthday. I know you probably wanted to score on your birthday, and you didn't, but that's okay, because you know what? You gave your best effort. You played really hard. Even though you didn't score, that's okay. Shots will come eventually. You know, even pros miss, but you at least played as hard as you could play last night, and I'm proud of you for that.
What you should have said was, you know, son, Kobe's last game, he scored like 60 points. But he also shot like 60 times. So just keep shooting.
That's right. That's right.
No, but yeah, just to wrap this one up, I mean, the last point, I don't even know if you read it there, but you pretty much hit it right on the head.
Okay.
Just encouraging fathers, like creating a culture of celebrating specifically what you just talked about, like celebrating effort, celebrating, I mean, this whole series is called Intentional Fatherhood, and we're celebrating intentionality by our kids that
Yeah.
they're not like we've been talking about, like, don't let life happen to you, don't let having a family happen to you. Like, you're celebrating, you're encouraging your kids not to let school and friends and relationships when it's time for that, and sports, and planning for college and what are they going to do with their career happen, and do kind of like I did. I mean, I tried through high school, but then when I got out of high school, I was like, I don't really know what I want to do. I guess I go to college, and I'm getting one in college, and I'm like, I don't really know what I want to do. I guess I'm just going to barely skate through college, and I gave my probably D effort through college, and thankfully, I guess my mom prepared me well enough through school that I made it, and she also helped me on some papers in college. But just creating a culture and a pattern of seeing what your children are doing, whatever season of life they're in, encouraging them through that. Like you said, if they have just that example, they play well, they play hard, they play good defense, and they score no points. Our society sees, and I'm an NBA fan, and I even do it sometimes with my own team, even though, like, I'm an Oklahoma City Thunder fan. We're one of the best defensive teams, I think the best right now in the NBA. There's times when, like, Lou Dort's one of our best defenders, and he's also a pretty good shooter this year. And so Lou will go out there and play, and he'll be like 1 for 8, 3 points or something, and maybe he shot a free throw, and he has 4 steals and a block or something like that. And I'm like, man, Lou had a bad game. And I just look at the box score. And then, you challenged me a little bit there to think, like, man, Lou Dort is one of the best defenders in the league. He got 4 steals and a block. He played his role. He gave his effort.
Yeah.
He shot 7 or 8 times. He didn't make them. But using that as an example, like, if Lou Dort is your son and representing your son in that, in that instance, he doesn't come off the court and you're like, Lou, you're playing terrible tonight. You just need to step it up. You missed 6-7 times. That's unacceptable. No, it's like, Lou, man, you were out there, you were flying around, you swatted the ball away, you helped the team, you did everything you could possibly do. Shots didn't go down, but I'm so proud of you and what you did. And same exact example you just gave, but just that celebration that the Lord has given you these talents, you're using them in a way that honors the Lord. That's all we can ask for as a parent. And so I think tying everything back to God's provision, God's faithfulness, and ultimately as parents reminding our kids that, whether they're whatever, quote unquote average kid, they do decently well through high school, go to college, make it through college, go find a job and get out into the workforce like everybody or a lot of people do, or if they're some prodigy at something, whatever it is, incredible basketball player, goes to the NBA, next LeBron James, great, like, obviously LeBron's parents are probably proud of him, but this idea that, like you said, you're celebrating effort, you're reminding your children that God gave you this talent, and the right thing to do is to work at it diligently to honor Him, and I think everything else will sort itself out.
Man, and I think what you just said too was a good reminder for us that sometimes as parents in this, celebrating milestones, accomplishments, and encouragement and all that stuff, we have to help them reframe a situation, right? And that's one way that we can encourage them, like you just said with this Lou Dort example. Like, if you were his coach in that scenario, you're helping him reframe, like, hey, you didn't have the best shooting night, but here's what you did to help our team, right? And so that was good that you did that, because it's not always just about, the points total. It's about what did you do, because basketball is a team. Everybody on the team can't score 35 points or whatever. Like, somebody has to play defense. Somebody has to make steals. Somebody has to be in the right position, when the ball swings to the other side of the field. I mean, all this stuff that we have to help the kids reframe that, and I mean, when you were saying that, it made me think of a very, point in time, a significant point in time. Like, I can think back to my old, basketball career. So now we're on the couch. Gabe is on the couch. Will's my psychologist right now. Yeah, here we go. 11th grade. Okay, we're playing basketball in the post-Christmas tournament in Tennessee. We were playing the number 9 team in the nation, USA Today ranked, number 9 team in the nation. Multiple kids on the team, already signed Division I scholarships. we're little old Dorman from Spartanburg. Our tallest player is like 6'1".
Gosh.
I'm not kidding. 6'1".
Okay.
That's our center. Okay, I'm playing power forward at 5'11". Like that's how little we were. Okay, these guys are just massive. We lose by 1 point.
God.
Okay,
Okay.
very end of the game.
Wow.
Only because, only because we could have went into overtime. But one of our guys accidentally had a lane violation on a free throw that the guy made, and so we lost by 1 point. So it was really a bummer to lose to them, but we were so close, right? But in that game, I remember I went 0 for 8. 0 for 8. And like that negatively affected me the rest of my basketball career. I'm just telling you, like it just did. Probably in my life, just because I'm like, man, I was, if I would have made one layup, right, we would have won that game. And so, but what I had never thought of until you just said what you said was that what other things did I do in that game, or my buddy that had the lane violation that we've all been mad at him for 30 years. I'm just
Don't
kidding.
call him
Just
out.
kidding, buddy. Love you, man. Love you, man. So that dude was awesome.
You're gonna dox him
He was a
later.
great
You're still
guy.
bitter about it. Yeah.
He served in the Air Force. Thank you for your service. But what other intangible things or tangible, right, that were maybe recorded, did he do that I do, other than going 0 for 8, right? What things did we do on defense? How did we help our other guys score, our scorers, that kept us to a 1-point game against the number 9 team in the nation that had
That's pretty
multiple,
impressive.
Division I guys signed, right? And I've never thought about that until just now where you said that, where it's, so again, as a father, we have to look for ways to reframe some things for our kids to help them see how the effort that they gave, was important, to an effort that that they may have been involved in. As long as it was a good effort, then we can praise that and we can encourage them in that. So yeah,
Love
dads help to look for ways to reframe stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, I think that'll close us down for today. Okay, I'm getting off the therapist couch myself right now. Thank you, Will, for changing my life just a minute ago. I really
you're
appreciate
welcome.
that.
That's what I'm
Where
here
were
for.
you 30 years ago, bro? Holy moly!
30, I was about 3 years old.
Oh man, I don't know if you could encourge me in that.
If you
at that
waited
time.
until I was about 5, I probably had.
You probably
a
had
little
that
bit of
wisdom
the
then.
knowledge,
That is true. That's true. So, don't forget to check us out on social media. Lost Boys, the Found Fathers. Check out my books as well. Thy Will Be Done. Put a question mark at the end of that. Or Every Little Thing, 6 Small Steps to Perfect Peace. You can find those wherever books are sold. Let's not be lost. Let's be found in Him.